Hello and welcome to the instructional video on using Fibonacci retracement tools to determine potential pivot points, potential targets. I'm really intending for this to be extremely beginner. I'm going to talk about how to use the Fibonacci tool, where to use it, how it's applied, and how to identify if you've used it correctly or not. So again, this is just probably the first video of many that I will likely do on this, getting a little bit more advanced over and over as I create more instruction on these different tools. I do like to use Fibonacci in conjunction with Elliott wave theory. I'm not going to talk about Elliott wave theory on this video. I'm strictly just talking about Fibonacci and being very, very simple on on my approach here, just to kind of give you some thoughts and ideas. So the first thing I'm going to do is to show you, of course, where this tool is at. Again, this is aimed toward beginners, so I'm going to start from the very bottom level, and I'm just going to sort of work my way up just a little bit. I've got a little bit of content here to show you, and then then we'll kind of build on that over time. So your Fibonacci tool inside of TradingView is in your little toolbox. It's this area right here, and there's a number of different things you can use here. You can see the ones that I have asterisk, the ones that I have starred is the Fib channel, the trend-based Fib extension, which I use in all of my videos, and Fib retracement, which is what I also use in all of my videos as well. You know, in this, there's a couple settings that I'm going to talk about how to use, but when you do use this, basically what I like to do is I like to find very dominant pivots. In this case, the pivots that I'm focusing on are our top pivot up here at the top, and I'm looking at Bitcoin, and we're looking at the 2019, mid 2019 area. If you'd like to use this on your chart as well, I'm looking at the 4-hour chart. And what I've done is I've basically capped ourselves off here at the top at about 13,868, and I'm bringing myself down here to 10,300. And let's just say for a moment we don't have any price action that goes beyond this. So let's just say for a moment here that our chart looks a little bit like this, where we don't have anything that's showing any direction for where we're going to be pivoting at. If I'm going to be using this tool, and I'm going to pull it off to the side so you can see this here, again, starting there at the top and working my way down to the bottom, if this is going to go through a corrective cycle, this should stop at either the 50% or at the 618. Okay, so I'm going to be looking for a move up to either 11,950 or 12,380. Your higher probability corrective target is going to be 11,950. A lot of times you're going to see things stopping at the 50% retrace mark. Where you really want to see things go, however, is the 618. This is our strongest point of our pivot. And as far as your Fibonacci tool goes, going into our settings here, these are the settings that I use in mine. I always try to have the 382, the 50, and the 618. So these three are the most important ones to have on your tool. The other one that I like to have is the negative 236 extension. So the negative 236. I've got a lot of others on here, but those honestly are the 4 most important ones to have. Again, that's the 0.382, the 0.5, the 0.618, and the negative 0.236. So you're going to use this negative 0.236 as your projected target for where price action is going to go after the price is finished correcting. Okay, so again, having that, after our correction, we're going to expect this price to go down to approximately $9,600. So $9,600 is approximately where we're going to expect this to go. A lot of times what you're going to see things get front ran, you're going to see things stop just short of the target, but nonetheless you get a general idea of where things are going to go. Price isn't always going to go exactly to your price and then reject there. Sometimes it stops just shy of it, sometimes it overextends a little bit, but nonetheless somewhere around the 50 or the 618 is where you're going to be looking for a negative reaction if this is a price that is started to move in a downward direction, you're going to see a pullback and then some bearish activity in these levels to determine if that's where the price is going to continue going. So you're going to be looking for a continuation move. And in this case, after the price just moved down and is correcting, we're going to be looking for a continuation move to the downside. So let's just take a look here and see how this ended up playing out. So what we saw a pullback to the 618, almost exactly. It did overextend a little bit. So if you're a bear and you're looking for shorts, this was a great area to look, somewhere at the 50 or the 618. We did see a bit of a bearish reaction here at the 50, but it did continue up to the 618. And this is the level that you're going to be looking for a strong continuation to the downside. Your first line of defense is going to be your 50, and then your ultimate level is going to be the 618. And if it goes beyond that, if it goes much beyond 65%, so I'm not going to get too much into that, but if it goes much beyond the 618, then chances are pretty good the price is going to continue to go higher. But if it does stop here, and you can see we had a really great reaction off of this 618 algo, this is going to be basically telling us that we are going to be looking for a move to that negative 236 target. So we have a strong reaction, a little bit of a correction, then we have our continuation move, and we go all the way down to about 96.55. Actually went all the way down to 96.51. And of course, our target here was 96.03, but nonetheless, we're still looking for a move down into these areas. And if you are short from this area, looking for that move down to 9600, you had plenty of opportunities to get out of that trade. You should not be greedy. This isn't a lesson about, fear and greed, but nonetheless, if it gets pretty close to your target, it's worth it to get out of that trade. You're not going to be looking for 100% of the move. You're going to be looking for, about 90% of the move. And in this case, that was a decent move to the downside, and you were able to realize this target. So I'm going to give you another scenario here, things that I do tend to look for. I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to get rid of some of this, and I'm going to show you a different set here. Let me clean this out. All right, and then let's move forward. All right, the next area that I'm going to be looking at is the next major move to the downside. Okay, so we saw a big move to the downside here, and this is a much larger structure that I'm going to be looking at correcting, which I don't believe we've actually finished correcting yet. Just so happens at that time of recording here. And I've got our big move up here to, this is to 13,180 to almost 13,200. And then I'm going to be looking for this move here to the downside. All right, and then what we saw here, all right, so we've got our big move up here to the top. We've got our big move all the way down here, major pivot, then a monster reaction up. We got stopped right at the 618. Okay, and you can also go back and take a look and see other pivots as well and see if there's any importance to those. Now, obviously, this was not the 0.887 at the current time, right? At the current time, that move, if we move this back up here, this was basically at the 786. Okay, so it went beyond the 618, which showed a sign of strength. It got a rejection at the 786, and of course we have already realized that target, which was at 8300. So that target already hit. And I don't know if you can tell by the way that the candles are compressed. We had a little bit of a reaction there, but it just kept falling through. But this is still a significant pivot to pay attention to. So again, what we saw here, we saw a nice move to the downside, perfect reaction off of the 618. This is a monster upward trend into the 618, but an equally as important bearish reaction off of that. Not only did it go off of the 618, it got suppressed to the 50. And at the 50 is where it has stayed, as significant resistance. So we have kept that significant resistance. And of course, our target is going to be down here at 63.36. Now, we are a couple $100 away from that. We didn't quite get all the way down there. So we are still looking this at about 64.30. We're looking for 63.30. So that's a $100 move away from this. And I still believe we actually have a ways to go before this gets realized. Now, let's just take a look and see. I'm going to draw this out. I'm still going to keep that same pivot as we go through here. We got a reaction off the 382 at 91.50. We got a little beyond almost a 9200, but nonetheless, this pivot is holding. This 50 is holding. This 618 is still holding. And as we can see here, we've got, a reaction here, bullish reaction off of the 382. Even though it wasn't as important back then, this is still continuing to be a decent pivot off of here, looking into the history based on our fib pull from the top down here to the bottom. Looking at that 618, now we're going to be looking to try and realize this target down below, which is going to be down here at 63.30. Very possible that this price action continues to move to the upside, continues to look up here at this 9,800 to stop again at this 50. Okay, so let's just take a look on the flip side from a bullish perspective. Let's zoom in just a little bit here and get ourselves a nice view of this. We're going to start down here at the very bottom, again looking at dominant pivots, and then we've got a good pivot up here. Okay, so let me move this out of the way, and we can see we have a pivot down here. This is the start, and then we have a pivot up here, and then we've got a reaction off of the 618. We've got a decent reaction off of the 618 here. Okay, now we're going to be looking for that negative 236 extension, and we hit that negative 236 extension pretty well. We continued to go through it, and then we came back here, we retested this level, and now we're seeing another move higher. And coincidentally, we went all the way up to about 91. Let's just get the right price here, 91.95. Okay, I have a -1 on here, as you can see. Basically what this is this is looking for an expansion. So we've got a move up here, or rather down here, and then our pivot up here on the top, a good reaction off of the 618. We hit our target, but then we just continue going. And the reason why I keep this -1 on here is basically all Fibonacci is doing is it's measuring moves. Okay, we're measuring moves, and I can take my line tool here and I could say, all right, well, I'm going to measure this move right here. Okay, and I see a lot of traders do something simple like this, saying, all right, well, I've got this move, and so let's go ahead and duplicate this. I'm just going to hold the control key on my keyboard and just click on that and drag it. All right, then what we're seeing is we're seeing basically an expansion to the upside. We're taking a look at this, and it looks like I'm on log scale, so this is going to look a little funny. So let me do this again here. I'm going to be taking this, and I'm going to be taking an expansion off of this, basically looking for that that -1 move off of this, and we hit this target here pretty well. And I know I was on a log scale, so it does look a little different, but nonetheless, this is looking for an expansion to the upside, basically expanding 100% of this move. And once we retested this, we're kind of looking for the same length of that move. A little unrelated to this, maybe a little more advanced that I'd like to go for this, but nonetheless, for our purposes here, we're looking for one major pivot, and then our next major pivot coming down to the 618, and then we're looking for our target here, which is going to be just a bit over 8,000. That has been realized. That trade is now gone. So now what are we looking for? Okay, so now let me go ahead and clear off all my indicators again. I'm going to be using my Fibonacci tool. Again, starting up here at the top, working my way down. Okay, so we've got a dominant pivot high, dominant pivot low. Now we're going to be looking for a reaction off of this 618. Okay, if we get that reaction off of the 618, and I tend to believe that we will, if we get that reaction off of the 618, what I'm going to be expecting to happen is a move down to 8,000. And more than likely, it's going to probably get a little bit of a front run. It might only go to 8,050 or so, but nonetheless, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a pivot high, a pivot low, a move up to the 618, and then a reaction, a rejection down to the -236. If it goes beyond the 236, I'm now going to be looking for a move down to 73.50, but that's over time. Okay, so again, the important levels that we've got here are the 382, the 0.382, we've got the 0.5, we've got the 0.618, and we have the -0.236. So those are important levels. Always important to have the 0 and the 1 on there as well. And I also have the -1. You can mimic my settings however you'd like. But this is basically the settings that I use for my Fibonacci tool. And this is how I do look for potential targets. Right now, I think Bitcoin is a little overextended, and I think at this price, we're probably going to come down here to the 8,000 mark if we get a rejection at 8,800. It could go a little beyond 8,800. Right now, we've got the high of 8,800 on Coinbase, and potentially looking for maybe a move to 88.10 to 88.20. Nonetheless, this does look like this is almost done, and it does look like we're going to get a little bit of a bearish reaction off of this. Again, if we go beyond this, I would say chances are pretty good we're going to continue moving higher. But if we get that bearish reaction off of here and we get back down to the 50, then I'd say our chances are very high that we're going to come back down to 8,000. So again, this is just meant to be a very simple video on Bitcoin. It's not meant to be technical analysis. This is meant to be just an education video on how to use Fibonacci at a very basic level. And I do intend to have more intermediate and more advanced videos on Fibonacci and other technical analysis tools in the future. This was just an attempt at a first run on Fibonacci. But again, if there is any questions, you all have access to me on my Discord. And if you have any questions, you can post them there. If you need an invite to the Discord, you can throw out a question or a comment here on the YouTube chat. I'll be more than happy to get an invite code out to you so you can be part of our free to use community where we're always sharing information and thoughts and insights. So wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, a good afternoon, a good evening, and a good night.